Hello everyone, welcome to a new season of Meet the Candidates. I'm your host, Jonathan Grabowski, and this season we'll be going over everyone who's running for local office in the 2021 spring elections here in Marshfield. And joining me on the show today is a candidate running for school committee, and that's Eric Kelley. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Jonathan, thanks for having me.
All right, so...
And I'm understanding that I am the first one to make an appearance.
You are the first, so you're the first episode this season. So you're the trailblazer.
Hopefully I will make it informative for people as well as potentially entertaining for you.
You're going to set the standard.
Really,
So before we get into why you're running and some of the topics that are going on, let's find out, who is Eric Kelley?
Eric Kelley. Well, I attended St. Ambrose School in Dorchester, Don Bosco Technical High School. Then I went to Boston High, then I dropped out of school. And I think a year or two later, I decided to go and get my GED. I've been working since roughly I was 12 years old, the paper route. I had a couple paper routes going at the same time. I worked at a service station for numerous years, so that was a great experience between working with my hands, especially the mechanics showing me everything. So I love working with my hands and all that. And then for the most part, afterwards, I've been working grocery retail for the rest from that point on. I'm currently married with 4 children. 3 currently attending Marshfield school system, with 1 in the pipeline. I do have a Catholic background, obviously going to parochial school in Don Bosco Tech. Unfortunately, I don't fully practice the faith that is going to church every Sunday and all that. And I don't belong to any political party. I believe that as you can look at, the 2-party system is probably doing more harm to our country than good at the moment. So,
like how everybody from Dorchester kind of identifies by what parish they went to or grew up in.
Yeah.
That's very much a Dorchester thing, I've noticed. So you're pretty involved in the community. Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been here for, I don't know, I've been in town since I think 2007, but I mean, MCTV has been a big part of it.
Okay.
I couldn't stress enough, anybody that wants to be part of get involved in the community and doing something, coming down here and joining up, being a member. It's a great platform to get your name out, and any if you have a particular subject you want to talk about, it's this is great. Doing MCTV, a lot of time goes into doing a show, and you could speak to that and all that. Between pulling clips and stills, and then learning to load it into the system and everything else like that. Also, like I said, you inform the public of what's going on, and then they can form their own opinion from what you say, whether it be they agree with you or disagree with you. It's not just something that you show up for an hour and look your best all the time. I attended numerous town meetings and board meetings. I do volunteer my time for certain things at a time when time allows. I do volunteer for some seniors during the winter, shoveling snow when it's needed, and now hopefully to be an elected member of the school committee.
Yeah. So you mentioned about going to town meeting, going to other government things. So I've known you for a while. You're someone that's really active in local civics. Why is this so important, and why should more people do it?
I feel it's important to ask questions to the best of your ability of your government officials, whether they're elected or unelected. Your tax dollars being spent, as well as other matters like zoning that will impact or transform what Marshfield looks like in the future. Everyone who resides here should be involved to protect your home. Our town is your home.
Okay. So the reason why you're here today, you've decided to run for school committee. Why? Why this particular seat?
I'm running just due to the fact there's a lack of leadership from the school committee due to the current situation of COVID-19.
Okay.
There's other matters I'm running on. I'll get into more of that as you have a question in regards to things like that.
Okay. So little civics 101 here. So we always like to ask people this. What's the role of the school committee?
The school committee has the oversight and responsibility of the school system, sets the direction in which the system must go, and establishes criteria, determines goals and policies are being met through the superintendent of schools, and I believe it sets the budget.
Okay. Yeah. So in your opinion, you're involved in local civics. You're a parent that has 3 kids in the system. What's your take on the state of the schools in Marshfield right now?
I look at the education system in Marshfield probably needs a top-down review with an emphasis on vocational technical education.
Okay. So as someone that's running to be on school committee, you've observed, the current committee as is. From your view, what's something that they're doing well, and what's something that you say, hey, you guys need to improve upon this?
Well, I mean, just looking at the over the last few months in regards to, well, actually more than a few months, going back since, I don't know, March or whatever, but in regards to COVID-19 or like that, and then following along, especially over the last few months, I mean, I think the members asked good questions to the superintendent and others in regards to it, but I believe the school committee also failed in giving a lack of direction to the superintendent in regards to getting things done in a certain timeline. There appears to be a lack of accountability, in my opinion.
Just go into that. What do you mean by lack of accountability?
Well, I think the school committee just, how can you say, they didn't say, look, we want, all right, the superintendent will tell them, or we need to get this, and that. And between seat, aligning the desk to a certain footage and all these other plans that go into this COVID-19 issue. And it didn't set like any goals like, hey, all right, how long is it going to take you to do? All right, we want it done in 2 weeks, and all that. It gave the superintendent too much leeway to, at least it looks.
So like they gave him no direction, saying like, here's the things that are important to us that we want to see done.
Well, I think the superintendent pointed out many a times in regards to the school committee meetings watching, just that I don't believe they set any timelines. Now the other thing is too, in the matter is we all don't know what goes behind the scenes or what kind of direction he's getting from, say, the chairperson, Sean Costello. I mean, one thing could be happening on screen, but behind the scenes, it could be a whole different other story. So that's a major issue, I think, right there.
Okay. So if you're elected, there's 4 people running for 2 seats.
Yep.
If you get elected to one of those 2 seats, what are some things that you want to work on? What are some things that people are going to say Eric Kelley's was known for working on these things?
Expand trade education.
Okay.
I don't know the whole process in regards to South Shore Vote Tech, but I know I've asked this question way in the past in regards to them visiting the schools. Probably we should start at the middle school to let the children and parents know that there's another, you can tie into the school system, especially if you want to learn a trade. Plumbing, I think they offer cooking and all sorts of other classes there. And also as well as look to expand, hopefully, trade education in this town in regards to offering more trade education. How that gets done? Well, there's one of 4 committee members as well as plenty of parents out there that could provide that input in regards to getting some trade education here. I think Marshfield, from what I saw from the handbook that came to my daughter who's going to be going into high school, the emphasis seems too much on college. And I don't think enough of it focuses on trade. And like, why the child should have the option of learning a trade and be able to get a job right off the bat, hopefully. And then maybe down the road they could think about expand for higher education. And I don't think Marshfield, the school system of Marshfield, looks like they offer that.
There's not enough pushing of that trade type of,
Correct. It's, all of a sudden a student is coming out of the high school and all of a sudden now they're racking up a debt right off the bat instead of maybe going out and getting a good paying job doing a trade and establish themselves first, and then down the road, if they want to expand their education, they have that ability to, All
right. So that's actually a really interesting point because I've been involved with the Marshfield Chamber, South Shore Chamber for several years, and one of the things they talk about workforce development is the need for people in the trades. That there's jobs out there and there's jobs available, but there's not bodies, being able to, there's no one out there that they can
to fill the slots.
To fill the slots,
yeah,
exactly.
I believe.
And these are also high-paying jobs too.
Correct. With good benefits package on top of them. I believe Marshfield has plenty of students. If they were shown maybe starting at like the middle school, say, and you have people come in, whether it be from South Shore Votech or if we start implementing our own trade program, where people come in and demonstrate to the children.
Right.
Look, you may want to look into this. What field you like to? This is electrical, plumbing, carpentry, all this other stuff, and get it in their head at an early age, and then by the time they get into high school, start the process in regards to picking a trade and all that.
And there is a tech ed department at the high school. Actually, our studio's located literally around the corner from it. So which
they
is
got the boat building. When I was going through my daughter's thing, they do offer some of the trades. So I mean, we have something already, how can you say, a footing for it.
Yeah.
It's just a question of how to build upon it with other trades that were attached to it.
Okay.
So I know there was a big hoopla way back when Steve Lynch proposed the town meeting for seatbelts on school buses.
Remember that?
I am still a full backer of that.
Okay.
In the process of that, especially I think a recent contract with Totman, I asked for the contract for the buses, and when I saw there's some language in there I was a little concerned about, and as well as it looks like they're required to turn the buses over every 100,000 miles, which I don't understand why, especially when the buses pretty much stay in town.
Yeah.
I don't understand why we couldn't get another 100,000 out of them. And save the town some money that way.
Is that a school thing or is that a bus?
That's what the school committee of their contract directs to the Taunton bus company. So, or I would say anybody else that probably got the contract. So, that needs. I would like to look into that more. As we spoke before, a top-down review of our education system. I'm been told, and it happens everywhere, kids dropping out. I'd like to get more into what the reason is, and hopefully those kids reach out, why they dropped out, and is there anything in the school system that needs to be changed in regards to what it is between education, not offering enough, say like a trade, other issues, and then and hopefully we can try and work with those children that did step out of the school system before graduating. What is being taught and what should be taught.
Okay.
Teacher methods, what capabilities the teachers have or do to keep the subjects interesting for the children.
Gotcha. I'm going to ask you a bigger question about that later on.
Okay, all right. Then the teacher's input, what changes would they like to see happen? What is needed to do their job better, if there's anything out there. Look into the feasibility of longer school days. I don't know if it's needed, but it's something that has rolled through my back of my head that the children need maybe an extra hour in school, something like that maybe. Student-parent input on education in Marshfield, teacher reviews, surveys, what would parents, students like to see in the Marshfield school system. I believe student parents should not have to pay to play sports. And or at least a reduced cost. I feel that we come up with a budget every year, and the town can budget for pay raises and all that. I can't understand why parents need to pay for the kids to play sports, especially when
Right.
the kids represent the town. So that's another big one for me. I like to see the pay structure on that either eliminated or reduced. I don't think there's any need for it. I think it's just another tool for the town to reach in the parents' pockets and supplement some kind of other thing for the town over the long road. A full budget review, especially where we're getting our money from, local, state, federal funding, what's being spent and where. School department having its own accounts for money budgeted for the school year. So as we know, every town meeting, the town budgets the schools
Right.
millions of dollars. So I know, speaking to somebody quite a while back, if the schools get that money and have its own accounts, to my understanding they don't. So I think if the school department was to get either all of it or a good portion of that money and establish accounts itself, I think the school department could make that money work for itself over the long road between collecting interest and everything else like that. And then hopefully it would offset some expenses in the future of what the schools are. One thing I've been very big on, but I do believe the state law forbids it, is some sort of school dress code for students. I think your parents of the students, especially as they get the older classes, will set the standard, especially going forward between going out and interviewing for jobs and looking their best to the employer, and as well as, I think a lot of employers do have some sort of dress code. I mean, if you go to the Star Market, they got to wear the smocks, shirts, all that.
Yeah.
So it's already established in a way, and I think it also is, the students dress appropriately and look good. It's a reflection on the school system as well, which is a positive thing.
I can see that.
The contract with MCTV, I believe, is coming up. So, sit down.
It's a lease. It's a lease.
All right, a lease.
It's a lease.
I appreciate that correction. So it's so if there's anything, especially in my experience here, that I could lend a hand with and all that, I'd be more than happy to. One thing I've over the years, especially taking my kids to the playgrounds, the different playgrounds around town, is playground maintenance.
Okay.
That's a big concern because it doesn't look like they get maintenance on a daily basis. So it's to my understanding, reading the town bylaws in Charlotte, that the DPW oversees all the public grounds and all that. So if not the school committee and the Board of Public Works, then at least the liaison with the school committee and find out what's going on with our school grounds and how we can maintain them on a daily basis, between raking the mulch or whatever else needs to be done, every morning or evening before school starts the following day and all that. I think that's an important matter. Any other issues that are brought to my attention that need to be addressed by me or the committee, I'd be more than happy to take on.
It's a good chunk of stuff right there you got. It's a lot.
Well, you can't just walk in and say, "Oh, it's COVID-19." No,
right.
But if someone
hopefully this COVID ends by the time your term's up too. So
in reality,
hopeful.
yes, I think that's the case. But I for some phenomenal reason, I just don't see it happening. And as well as I have 3 kids in the school system, so I've seen a lot, and as well as another one in the pipeline. So there's a handful of things out there that more than a handful of things that need to be addressed.
So, of all the challenges that the schools district is currently facing, what is it, and how would you take it on?
I think the biggest one right now is overcoming COVID-19.
Okay.
The fiasco it is in getting back to normal. And when I say the normal, it's not the new normal that everybody's talking about.
Gotcha. You just mentioned COVID. Everything's been impacted by COVID. School, MCTV. Give me, and you've kind of touched on this already. Give me your thoughts on how the school departments handle dealing with COVID.
All I have to say is poorly.
Okay.
Had approximately a year to put a plan in place. A lot of what I heard was finger pointing at other government entities, and as well as what I've seen is it seems to be a lot of foot dragging by people in town. The March 16th school committee meeting, Sean Costello tells everyone he owns it. He most certainly does own it. There's no doubt about
March
that.
16th this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then some. The whole thing is that with the election coming up, why give Sean Costello and Kendra Stetson a reward for re-election when they've clearly played politics with children's education and social and emotional well-being? Why give them two a chance to repeat it? That's the best I can sum it up.
You mentioned that phrase, social emotional well-being, and I hear this a lot from anyone involved with kids and educators. You're someone that has kids in the school system. Has the social emotional well-being of your children been impacted by everything that's gone on with the schools not being, the way they were?
To a degree, a little bit. It's not too bad. One of my daughters seems to be doing all right with it. My other daughter,
because every kid's different.
That's just the whole thing, Jonathan. Yeah. So that's why I can't say my kids on a general thing. That. My son, take my son. He's got a group. There's a few boys in the neighborhood. Yeah. So the whole thing is that he has that opportunity to meet up with them, play, and do their thing when school's not in session and all that. One of my daughters has friends in the area as well, so she's got that thing. My other daughter, her friends are further out, so scattered. It's not right in the neighborhood where I live. So, and not to say that she doesn't get a chance to go out and visit them and all that, but I think the children not being around their peers it certainly plays a major impact on it in regards to keeping up with things and all that. I mean, the technology part is good just with the iPhones and all that, but the whole thing is that you see them. I see my kids on it all the time, and I have to kick them out of the house, especially when the sun's out and it's a warm day. Get out, go do something. So. So yeah, there is. I think in my look at it, for me, it's not as bad. But I imagine there are other parents and children out there that are probably more impacted by the situation than I have been, especially if they're a single child in a home.
Right. So the educational experience, and I have family members who are educators, friends who are educators, and one of the things that you kind of hear from them a lot is, we're teaching to a test, or there's an unfunded mandate that we have to deal with that we're teaching to, and it's frustrating to them that they can't be creative in the classroom and whatnot. So do you think we should give districts and teachers maybe more control over what's taught in the classroom, or do we really need to have all these state and federal mandates and guidelines going? That's a big question right there. I look at the local district, yes. Teacher input, yes. Now the whole thing is that when you say a mandate, are you looking at a mandate or law or both? How are you looking at? I mean, one of the things I hear from a good friend of mine's a teacher out in another district, and he's saying there's all these unfunded mandates that we have to teach to. There's no funding ban, but we still have to meet these requirements.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. If it's a mandate, I'm torn. If it's a law, then you have to follow it. If it's a mandate, my issue is that if it's a mandate coming from a unelected officials in another government entity, that's where I have concerns because how do you have these people that are unelected giving mandates out? And I think as we've seen during this COVID-19, how do you have them starting to tell an elected body like the school committee what to do? Right. That's where I have a problem at. If you're looking at a law, there are some laws that people will that it impacts, but that's the whole thing. I guess it depends on how it affects the individual or individuals. So, I would look at the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. I would look at that as an entity that is not needed. Okay. All right, at the state level. In regards to laws, now you have Chapter 71 that outlines public schools, Chapter 71, 8, 9 outlines charter schools, and 71 Section B, children with special needs, amongst others. But the thing is that you have laws in the book, so you already know it and everything like that. But then you have this government entity that clearly shown over this past year that do we really need a Department of Elementary and Secondary Education?
Gotcha.
And then lean into the federal. Once again, if it's laws, you have like the Individual with Disabilities Education Act, the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, and the Perkins Career and Technical Act, and the statutes that protect student and parental rights. So when I looked at those laws and read up on them, I'm like, those aren't bad laws, it looks like, to have on the books. Yeah, if you look at laws, some of them are good. Probably some of them you probably could tweak. But in regards to mandates, that's why I think I have a problem with.
Gotcha. So we're starting to wrap up here. We're almost out of time. So we're getting into some fun stuff that we always try to end with here. So what's an Eric Kelley fun fact?
I would like to say there's many, Jonathan.
Okay.
But I will just go with I love basketball.
Okay.
And years ago I played street hockey. I'm a big street hockey fan.
Okay.
I think that's, if you don't know how to skate or whatever, you get street hockey going back and forth like basketball, but I think at a much harder pace, it's great exercise and all that.
Gotcha. So if we were to take your phone or mobile device, what music would we find on it?
I'm a big rock fan. I grew up in the age of the 80s, 90s hair bands.
Yep.
So I'm all in that. I like the old school rap as well as the current rap.
Okay.
WFNX when I was growing up, which is an alternative music site. If those who don't know, because it's a defunct radio station,
Yep.
but that was a great station. That brought you Nirvana and like the band Live and the Toadies, Modern English, Radiohead, and Stone Roses. So I like the alternative stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm open to a genre of stuff. Some pop in as well.
If people want to find out more about you, where can they go? Is there anywhere?
Well, I don't do Facebook. I don't believe in Facebook. But I do online, like the South Shore Forum. So if you're looking for the history of many topics and where I give my opinion, that would be a good spot as well. But I think the best place is MCTV.
Okay.
Wednesday night, the open share at 8:05. Maybe we start a little later, but I think MCTV is the best spot to catch us, because we'll give an assortment of subjects and topics and opinions on it. So. And
last but certainly not least, why are you the best candidate for this position?
Why am I the best candidate? Well, I've been active in the town for about 11, 12 years, whether it be at town meeting, charter change meetings, school issues, as well as local board meetings. I have a pretty good feel what's going on in town, especially with the help of others. I've done my best to keep up with what's going on in the state and across the country, as it may impact us here in Marshfield. Not afraid to speak my mind and give my thoughts on issues. As a union member, I understand the importance of collective bargaining, but what we, the parents, went through was not collective bargaining. I think it was a collective screwing by all parties involved. I will do my best to not let that happen again. How, may you ask? Well, I bet if the teachers got a temporary bump in their pay being in the classroom, then this would have never been an issue. With all the money the town is getting from the federal government, the extra pay would have been covered. I want to say thank you to you, Jonathan. Thank you for everybody out there watching. And I ask for your support. Don't forget to vote May 1st. The election times is a short day, 9 to 3. And if you like what you see here, please spread the word. That's all I can ask.
Great. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show today, and I want to wish you the best of luck come election season.
I appreciate it, Jonathan. Thank you so much.
All right. And that's all the time we have for Meet the Candidates. And until next time, make it a great day.